Hello everybody, welcome back. It is that time of the year where we go through my favorite sunscreens of the year. I think I mentioned this in a video prior, maybe on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's just my name, Dana Ripperton at Instagram. I do a lot more of like daily life, little bits and bobs. So if you're not following me there, I highly recommend it. But today we are going through my favorites and my least favorites. I've done it in the past in one video, I've done it in the past where it's two videos, and I figured, I don't know, it just seems more fitting to do it all in one, so that's what we're doing. Now, I have 5 sunscreens, and actually this was probably the easiest year to choose the top 5. They were the ones that I reached for day in, day out, and I've either repurchased or am waiting to repurchase because I really love them. So that's what we're doing. Now, I always like to preface this video by saying I try my hardest to get sunscreens that did come out in the year 2024 or whatever year it is, but I'm not always able to, or sometimes they just were not on my radar. There are hundreds of thousands of sunscreens out there, so I try my best. But if you see one that was released a year or two ago or a long time ago, just know that I am doing my best to try to find ones recent, but sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly. So we're gonna go from there. The last thing I have to say before we get into it is I know some people have requested that I do a demo of each one or when I'm talking about them. The reason I don't do that is because pretty much all of them I have reviewed. If I didn't review it, it's usually because it's one of the worst sunscreens and I just didn't think that it was worth my time or your time. But I do have videos on pretty much all of these. So I would recommend just typing in the name of the sunscreen onto my channel and searching for the full length video. That is just a better use of my time, I think. And hopefully you get a little bit more detail rather than me trying to stuff it all into one video. So with that said, I think we should start with my favorites because I'm just so excited with them. And they're really in no particular order. It's hard enough to kind of come up with top 5, but I cannot rank them because they're very different. And you know, I use them at different times. I use them for different purposes. So that's what it is. But let's get going. Don't forget to give it a big old like and subscribe below, and we will get into it right now. All right, so the one that I have been pretty much obsessed with in the fall and winter, and that is because it is better for my skin type in these colder, cooler months, is the INNBEAUTY Project Mineral Sun Glow. I have it on my face today. I do have foundation on as well, but I can use this as basically my only skincare / foundation product, maybe like a little bit of concealer, and this does the job. I have raved about this since it came out. I think it came out in March or April, so I didn't get to use it as much in the summer just because it does have a glow like the name suggests. But once it got a little bit cooler this year, I basically used it all up and I already have a second one purchased. This does come in 2 shades. I have the shade Fair Medium, which is the lighter shade, and then they have a, I think it's Medium Deep. And I would say, at least from what I've tried, I've only tried this lighter shade, this really works for a good variety of skin tones. If you do have the lightest kind of fairest skin tone, it may have a little bit more tint than you want, but it doesn't pull very, very warm. A lot of sunscreens, if they have a tint to them, they just end up pulling like orange. And even my skin tone, which is a little bit warmer, I have a little bit of olive undertone, it can be just too much. So I understand people who have very fair skin, it being just like very bright orange on them. But this doesn't feel that way. It feels like it has a light neutral undertone, which I really appreciate. It does have a glow to it, but it doesn't feel too greasy, which is what I really, really appreciate. It is a mineral sunscreen. I forget, let's see, what 14.2% zinc oxide. So not the highest. It is SPF 43, PA 3+. So you've got pretty good protection, but it just kind of checks all the boxes. It gives you this kind of ethereal glow, but it's not greasy. Like my face never feels to the touch greasy. It sets down. There's no scent to it. It has like the mineral sunscreen scent. There's really nothing that I don't like about it. It is not waterproof, but I don't go to this kind of sunscreen for a waterproof sunscreen. So for me, this is a perfect everyday, somewhat glowy, kind of can double as makeup for me with maybe a little bit of concealer. And I just love it. And I am so excited to have finished it and be on to my second bottle of it. So I have, I would say like a decent mix of chemical and mineral. So the next one that we'll go to is a chemical sunscreen. So we had a mineral, now we have a chemical. This one is the HARUHARU Wonder Black Rice Moisture Airyfit Daily Sunscreen SPF 54 PA+. This, I feel like if you don't know about this, then you probably not watched my channel before. So if you haven't, go back, watch my video on this. I'm pretty sure I did this in the 14 days of sunscreen, but I've talked about it in favorite videos. I clearly used the whole thing up. I cut it open. This is just a spectacular everyday sunscreen. It does not irritate most people's eyes. I know with chemical sunscreens that can be an issue, but I have found most people to be pretty okay with it, if not fine. It also doubles as a moisturizer and your sunscreen, but it's not greasy. It just has the most wonderful satin finish to it. And when I say that, I mean like it works on so many different skin types, which is really, I would say, quite unique. I've talked to people with dry skin that this works really well for. You can layer it under or over another moisturizer if you really, really have dry skin. Or if you have more oily or combo skin, it still works. It is the moisture that you need from a moisturizer without having to put one on underneath, but it doesn't look greasy on your face. It dries down. I wouldn't say that it definitely sets like matte and totally immovable, but it doesn't have like a slip to it, so you're not gonna feel like your face is kind of, or things are moving about on your face. There's pretty much nothing wrong with it. It's also very affordable. I think it's around like $14. You can buy it on Amazon. I prefer to buy it on YesStyle or Stylevana because I just don't trust that Amazon sellers are selling me a like real product. So that's just a me thing. I will always link the Stylevana or the YesStyle, but you can find it in other places. And overall, I don't know. I can't say anything better about it because it's just a wonderful sunscreen. So I guess if I really do have to choose my top two, it would be these two. This one for mineral, this one for chemical. And I would be happy having these two in my life and nothing else. But we do have others. The other one that I have in a chemical form is the Centella or MIXSOON Centella Sun Cream. This one was sent to me by the brand, which I think everything else I bought on my own. And I really wasn't expecting much from this because I have a million K or J beauty sunscreens. This one is MIXSOON, so I believe that they are Korean. And so I just was expecting like a nice chemical sunscreen, nothing crazy. And a lot of the chemical sunscreens that I have found from Korea tend to be a little bit better for people with drier skin. I have more normal, sometimes combo skin, and I don't always want that like super rich moisture glow to my skin. And this is that kind of thing. I would say it's very comparable to HARUHARU Wonder, but it's actually quite a bit lighter. This one, the HARUHARU Wonder, I can use it in the summertime, but I actually prefer to use the MIXSOON in the summertime because it's got a little bit more of a gel consistency, whereas the HARUHARU Wonder is a little bit of a thick cream. It blends in easily, but it is thicker in consistency. This one, it just comes out so smoothly. It goes on your skin, it absorbs immediately. It does have a scent. I've heard people that didn't like it, but the scent is Centella. So if you've ever smelled Centella, that's what it is. Like there's nothing, to me it smells great. It's very soothing and calming for your skin. So if you do have more sensitive skin, it can be good, but it's one of those things you don't know sometimes until you test it. And there's really, other than the fact that like it's invisible on all skin tones, it's chemical, it is high SPF, I love this one so much. It actually did take the place of the HARUHARU Wonder for, like I said, the summer. So if you do have more normal / combo oily skin, you would probably gravitate to this one a little bit more. But then you could use the HARUHARU Wonder if you wanted more moisture in the wintertime. So those are my top three. Next up, why don't we go back to mineral? This one was a very interesting kind. Oh, you know what? This one was also sent to me in PR, but I tend to buy a lot of my own sunscreens. And also, guys, I don't give reviews just because, or I don't give good reviews just because I got something in PR. I'm old enough to know better than that. So this one was sent to me. This is by the brand MINORI. And this is a mineral sunscreen. I have a video on this, so definitely check that out if you're interested. This is 100% mineral. It is SPF 30. So going down from the other ones are either SPF 43 or 50. This one's a more kind of like average SPF 30. That's a very common protection level. And it is an independent, small woman-owned business, which is really exciting. And this was a spectacular, spectacular sunscreen. It's got a tint to it, and I will show you that right now. It's got like kind of like an orangish, peachish tint. And what I love about this one is when it goes on your skin, it doesn't have that super silicone-y feel to it, but it does dry down almost, I would say, matte. So this is gonna be better for those people out there who have more combo oily skin and who do want something that is gonna dry down a little bit more on their face. So I have tried quite a few sunscreens that have a similar kind of light, airy texture to it. And the only thing that I have found with these is if you are doing layers, which you usually should be, especially if you're doing a 2 or 3 finger length method where you're applying sunscreen and then reapplying, I would say use this as quickly as you can in an area. Like if you're doing your cheek or this side of your face, do the whole side, finish it up, and then move on. But if you do let it dry and then go back with another layer, it can pill, and that's just more of the actual texture of this sunscreen. It's actually a common thing with sunscreens of this kind of texture. So it's not really a knock on this brand, but with sunscreens like this, it can tend to pill if you try to layer it after it's already set. And you don't have a lot of runtime with it. Like you still have plenty of time, but just don't like put it on, go for a walk, go get coffee. Just do it all at once and then it's gonna be fine. But I do, again, love this one for the summertime. And if you think about like my other favorite sunscreen, I can't really use this INNBEAUTY Project one in the summer just because that would be too much glow for my skin. So this one doubled as my summer sunscreen and then it worked out perfectly. And my last favorite sunscreen is the Sun Bum Daily Gel. I have tried so many different invisible gel, like silicone, Supergoop-esque sunscreens. And I think this one is my favorite. I use this all up. This isn't empty. And especially because when you're going to the beach or like any summer type activities, you want something that's waterproof. And for me, I want something that is easy. Like I don't want anything with a tint. I don't want anything with a glow. I'm already sweating. I'm already hot. I just want protection and I want it to be waterproof. And I found that this is one of the perfect ones for that. It basically, if you've tried the Supergoop Unseen Sunscreen, it's very, very similar. I have a whole video on invisible sunscreen, so go check that out if you're interested. But this one is more affordable than Supergoop, and I ended up liking the texture quite a bit more. I do go into detail about it over there, so go check that video out. But this is a great one as a waterproof option. The other 4 are not waterproof, so if you are looking at a waterproof one that you want, this would be my recommendation for the year. All right, guys, so we got through the top 5, and now let's move on to my least favorites. Now, actually, before we get to my least favorites, I did want to give one honorable mention to a sunscreen. And the reason this is honorable mention and maybe not in my top 5 is because I was confused by this sunscreen. This is the DRMTLGY Matte Universal Tinted SPF. It is one of those sunscreens that I just think is going to be different on different people, obviously. I think it's going to be different depending on your skin type. I think it's going to be different depending on what climate you live in. So it says it's matte, but I found that it could be quite glowy if I put on just like a little bit of moisturizer or a serum underneath. If I put it on a dry face, it definitely was matte. So it's not actually a bad thing. I think that's really, I like that because I could use it in a variety of ways, but I just was not prepared for it, especially when it comes with the name matte sunscreen. But other than that, I love the tint. I love the high protection. They are, DRMTLGY, I would say like, they're somewhat affordable. They're not the most expensive, but they are a quality sunscreen for an affordable price. And this is a hybrid sunscreen, which I don't think I have any other hybrids in the mix because I tend to like not love them that much. So honorable mention to this one. It confused me a little bit, but I still like it. Now we shall move on to my least favorites. Starting off with, Supergoop. One day I'll work with you and we'll come up with a sunscreen that works for people for sure. Or for real. This is the Triple Prep. This is a lightweight multitasking moisturizer. Now, Supergoop is known for creating sunscreens that have broad appeal. This type of thing, I can understand why people would buy it. I can understand because it looks like a moisturizer. You get the idea that like you just put this on and this is your moisturizer and your sunscreen, which it totally can be. But I find that they don't necessarily, the way they market them is different than how I apply them. And I've said this before, it's a love-hate relationship because if you use probably like the amount that a normal person uses for a moisturizer, which, you know, let's say, I don't know, that's maybe people use a little bit more, that's probably even too much. You're not really getting the full SPF. So when you apply just a little bit, it works really, really well. And that is kind of Supergoop's, that's their thing. But when you apply 1/4 teaspoon like I do, their sunscreens tend to not work. They market it as a weightless multitasking SPF. And so for me, I think on the website, it said like 4 more oily skin types, like combo oily, because they have their other one, the Sunscreen, I believe it looks similar to this, which was for more dry skin. So this one was supposed to be the counterpart for oily combo skin. And when you use the amount that I use, it just doesn't work like that. I just find that Supergoop is not marketed to people who are sunscreen lovers and users and use the correct amount. They're really for the masses, and that's okay, but like for me, it's a big pass, and especially for the price, because they're pretty much all $46, which is insane for 1.7 fluid ounces. The next one I have is the, what is this? Beauty of Joseon Ginseng Moist Sun Serum. Now, I don't remember if this came out this year. I think it may have come out last year, but I got my hands on it this year. And this burned my face off. Now, I can remember maybe 2 or 3 sunscreens in my life that have done that. I have very acclimated, normal skin. I do not have sensitive skin. I can put like a hot iron on my face and it would be okay. Maybe not. But this one, I don't know if it's the high amount of ginseng in it or what, but it really, really burned. I had to take it off my face immediately. It wasn't even like the type that burns and then like settles in. I thought I was going to lose skin. So it's just a big pass for me. I think there's too much of the actives in it for my skin. I don't know if that works for everybody. And also, even if it hadn't stung, it is so glowy, like to the point where I really only think people with dry skin can use it. And I wanted to love it because I love this like light, fluid kind of serum texture for a sunscreen, but I just couldn't use it. And then the last sunscreen, which again, I can't remember if they came out this year or not, but these are the One Skin sunscreens. I have the tinted and the non-tinted, and I bought one and then one was sent to me in PR, and they're so bad. The non-tinted is just unusable in my opinion, and I don't think I did a review on this, but people are gonna say like, oh, there's no tint to it. There's a tint if you are deeper than like light, medium, I don't know. And if you're using the correct amount, like there's just gonna be a tint. It is a non-tinted mineral sunscreen, that's what it is. There's no way around it. I don't know. You can try to pretend like these types of sunscreens don't have a tint, but on most skin tones that are like anything medium to deep, it's going to have a cast. And that's okay, but just don't market it as invisible. And then the tinted one, which was honestly, like I thought I was gonna like more, it was pretty atrocious too. It has the deepest tint, like, and I'm not talking, I mean, this could work for maybe medium skin tones. When I say that certain sunscreens just pull very orange and warm when they're tinted, this is exactly the type that I mean. And I think people who like these, again, are gonna be people who just use just a little bit of sunscreen and they do a patch there, patch here, patch there, and then it's fine. Because if you do that, you can make this work. But if you're using it in the correct amount to get the full protection, it's just gonna look either too white or too orange on most people, not all, but most. So the other thing about this is it's only SPF 30, and I think each of them retail for about $60. I have a whole video on One Skin. I find it to be quite a market-based skincare brand, which I don't love, and there's so many others out there that I haven't gotten around to reviewing, but they're all so expensive, and they get people by being like this proprietary new protein or peptide that is gonna change your skin. And for some people, it really can work and it may help them. But for the most part, you're just paying for a peptide, which in my opinion is not gonna change most people's skin. So I'm going off on a tangent, but if you are interested in anything about the OneSkin brand, go check that video out and probably don't pick these up. Just my opinion. There are cheaper mineral sunscreens that look exactly the same. So there we go. All right, guys, so that is all of them. I only had 4 of my least favorites. I feel like this year was a pretty good year for sunscreens, so I'm very happy with my top 5. If I only had those in my life, I think I would be fine for a while. But I did want to end this video just saying thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed and watched my videos. We hit 10K this year. I just did the 10K giveaway over on YouTube. We're on YouTube, but here. So thank you so much for being a part of this community. You know, things are gonna change a little bit next year, but I hope not so dramatically that you don't wanna be here. I don't plan on changing everything, but I may infuse some new things into the channel. So we'll see how that goes, and I will see you guys all. I think there's one more video coming, but if I don't have that one, then I'll see you in 2025. Bye.